Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is the Marijuana Regulatory Agency's Regulating Medical and Adult Use Facilities presentation, brought to you by the MRA Enforcement Division's Field Operations section. Starting off with introductions. Thank you for attending. My name is Brian Hanna, Manager of Field Operations, Metro Detroit section. I manage the inspectors and the investigators for Southeast Michigan and the Bay Area region of Michigan. And I'll turn it over to Joe Thomas for intros.
My name is Joseph Thomas. I'm the manager for the Outstate section. We manage the remaining 66 counties within the state of Michigan. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Melanie Carroll, and I'm a regulation officer working out of the Metro Detroit area for the Enforcement Division. I perform inspections for medical and adult use facilities seeking licensure, and also for those that already have a state license.
And I am Stephen Rao. I am a regulation agent assigned to the Outstate section, and I am tasked with providing investigative services to the licensed facilities within that area.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So here's the agenda for today's presentation. We're going to talk about a multitude of different types of variety of information that we'll cover, from MRA field operations introductions, rules and bulletin familiarity, notification reporting forms, preparing for inspections, company documents, designated consumption establishments along with co-location, security, metric, advertising, trade samples, and criminal activity notifications. Next slide, please. First of all, just again, thank you for attending. The industry is the focus of our duties. What the industry and what we want is a compliant and level playing field for all. We're here to provide excellent customer service and ensure that the licensees stay in compliance with the acts and rules, and educate applicants and licensees for a successful and safe industry for all. So thank you again for attending. Really appreciate it. And what you see on the image to the right there is the state of Michigan divided into 7 districts. If you notice, there's no District 4, but this is how we break down the field when it comes to the MRA's field operations. Again, I'm manager of field operations Metro Detroit, so therefore I have districts 2 and 3, and Joe Thomas has the rest of the state. So again, thank you for attending, and let's get on with the presentation. Mr. Joe Thomas, next slide, please.
Thank you, Brian. The field operations staff of the Enforcement Division is made up of regulation officers, regulation agents, and technicians that conduct most of the administrative work in the office here in the Lansing area. The staff work within the 7 districts in the state of Michigan. The 2nd and 3rd districts, as been mentioned before, make up our metro section and consist of 17 counties, while the 1st, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th districts make up our outstate section and include the remaining 66 counties of the state of Michigan. The officers conduct inspections on state licensed businesses, and the agents conduct investigations associated with the applicable acts and rules. The agents also have good working relationships with their local law enforcement entities and the Michigan State Police. Next slide, please. Rule familiarity is of great importance towards successful business operations. Our focus here at the MRA is to help you become compliant. You can do this by going to our website at any time at www.michigan.gov/MRA. You can follow the link to the laws, rules, grants, and other bulletins for more information. Next slide, please. When you go to our webpage, at the bottom of the screen, you will see these buttons. If you click on the button for laws, rules, grants, and other bulletins, you will be taken to a page such as this. Next slide. On this page, you will see we have our rules broken out into smaller categories or topics. We did this with the hopes that you may be able to narrow your focus, such as rules pertaining to marijuana licenses, marijuana licensees, marijuana operations, sampling and testing, marijuana infused products and edible marijuana products, marijuana sale or transfer, content related to employees, marijuana hearings, marijuana disciplinary proceedings, and industrial hemp rules for marijuana businesses. Next slide. On the bulletins page, you will find links to the numerous bulletins we produce. And the bulletins can be related to these following categories: public health and safety, marijuana advisory bulletins for medical marijuana facilities licensing, marijuana advisory bulletins for adult use, recreational marijuana, MRA tips for licensees, technical bulletins, and other resources. Next slide. The compliance officer is the one person in your organization that knows the rules inside and out, and oftentimes has the most contact with our regulation officers during inspections or our agents when they are conducting investigations. This is a very important position within the organization, and it's one that has the most continuity. Next slide, please. Your counsel can be very beneficial in helping you interpret the rule set or acts, but always feel free to reach out to us. We may not be your counsel, but we strive to point you in the right direction. Once again, you can always contact us at our contact points, being the email or the telephone number listed below. Next slide, please. Never think that you cannot contact us if you have a compliance question. We will always return your call or email. Oftentimes, we will put you in touch with your district regulation officer or agent. We do this for consistency and familiarity. Here at the MRA, we are focused on building relationships and helping you gain compliance, which will lead to your success. Once again, you can always reach us at our email of mra-enforcement@michigan.gov or call us at 517-284-8599. I now turn it back to you, Brian.
Thanks, Joe. Next slide, please. So you see a common theme with this presentation today of our email address and phone number. Feel free to reach out to us. We'll get back with you as soon as possible. And our goal is to give you the most accurate information pertaining to your question. This is also an excellent opportunity to talk about the reporting forms that our section handles with on the enforcement division perspective, and then also the licensing division handles with these forms as well. This is an excellent opportunity to let you know that we have further information coming out soon. We wanted to let you know what the MRA reporting form is used for, and it's in association with the rules. For example, it's used for a change of processing machinery or equipment, a description of a violation of an ordinance or a zoning regulation committed by the licensee, any change or modification of the marijuana business before or after licensure that was not inspected or not part of the marijuana business location plan, adverse reactions to a marijuana product sold or transferred by a licensee, criminal convictions, charges, or civil judgments against an applicant in this state or any other state, federal, or foreign jurisdiction, regulatory disciplinary action taken against an applicant by this state or any other state, federal, or foreign jurisdiction, an initiation or conclusion of any new judgments, lawsuits, legal proceedings, charges, or government investigations, whether initiated, pending, or concluded, that involve the applicant. Clearly, that's a lot of information. We are recording this presentation for future viewing, but further explanation on the next slide, please, is what the reporting form, what we really don't need. We appreciate the information that we receive from you all throughout the industry, but just as a reminder, we don't need a report change form for anything such as new toasters, new light bulbs, new ATM machines. This information that I'm about to share with you is brand new information and will be coming out soon from the rest of the MRA. Feel free to start using it now, but the email address to start sending reporting forms is MRA-amendments or MRA-amendments@michigan.gov. This is a brand new email address and it will come out very soon from our agency in other forms via bulletins and emails. If you sent a reporting form already to us at MRA adult use licensing at michigan.gov, which is our previous email address that we have on our current forms until we make the updates, you do not need to resend the form, please. Just sending it to us once, it'll get to where it needs to go. Feel free to send it to MRA-amendments@michigan.gov. If you've already sent it to MRA adult use licensing, there is no need to resend it to the other email address. Thank you. And now I'll turn it over to Melanie Carroll.
Thank you, Brian. I will continue with the presentation and discuss preparing for inspections. Once you have moved forward in the licensing process to the inspection stage, a pre-licensure inspection will be scheduled by your assigned regulation officer. Typically within 2 working days after receiving the inspection request, the officer will contact the applicant and schedule your inspection. Please note that there are several hours of inspection work with the file and the documents, as well as going to the physical site for inspection. So know that the floor plan, technology plan, surveillance plan, business plans, things that you've been submitting all along in the application process, we will review those and also have time to work on those at our inspections. Located at www.michigan.gov/MRA is our inspection checklist. As noticed on this slide, inspection checklists are available for each inspection type. So as you can see at the bottom here in blue, we have pre-licensure checklist, 30-day post-licensure checklist, and also the semi-annual checklist. These will be available under each tab, and you will be able to pick which facility you have. Might it be a provisioning center, grower, processor, secure transporter, safety compliance facility, and this will include both the medical and adult use inspections. Note also that these checklists are based straight from the MMFLA, MRTMA, and also our rule set, and they seem to be a great tool for preparing for inspections. Company documents. Listed here are some documents that we will look for during, and we can request these also prior to inspections. So it's just good to make sure that these are maintained on site as required by the rules. We have proof of insurance for liability with the amount of coverage. Typically, we request those post-licensure and at semi-annual inspections. We also have employee records and criminal history. As you can see, this is notated under Rule 420.602. So within that, just to let you know, for criminal history, those need to be run prior to hiring any employees. We only require it once at the MRA, but I have run into it with other local municipalities. They might require it more often, so just be aware of that. Employees and employee training. This is also in the same section of the rule. And training employees is a requirement along with maintaining an employee training manual. Just so you know, this manual should include employee safety procedures, guidelines, security protocol, and educational training that will cover marijuana product information, dosage, and purchasing limits. Next on the list here, we have waste management plans, and that's found under 420.211. The approved methods for destroying marijuana waste will be found under that rule. Each facility type must submit a plan stating how this waste will be rendered as unusable and unrecognizable. Policies and procedures related to the regulated aspects of the business, so that would be specific to your license type. And then also an adult use responsible operations plan. This requirement is found under Rule 420.602. And just to let you know, this plan should include how employees will monitor and prevent over-intoxication, underage access to an establishment, illegal sale or distribution of marijuana or marijuana products within the establishment, and any other potential criminal activity on the premises. Also, please note that these documents may be hard copy or they may be electronic. They just simply need to be accessible at the time of inspection. This slide covers co-location. So a licensee shall comply with all of the following, and this is Rule 420.203, and there's a couple different sections. This one is specific to, as provided, a marijuana business shall be partitioned from any other marijuana business or activity, any other business or any dwelling. And then below is 420.204. A licensee that has any combination of licenses may operate separate marijuana businesses at the same location. So this is, just to make sure that you realize if you are a business and you have a provisioning center, for example, and you're next door to a liquor store, just realize that there would have to be partitioning. You cannot have any internal access from your marijuana business into that other business. Or if it was an apartment building, there could be no direct access into that apartment building. This next slide also discusses co-location, but this is in regard to equivalent licenses. So under 420.205, a person that holds equivalent licenses with common ownership under the Act may operate those equivalent licenses at the same location. So just to show the difference, this is more referring to medical and adult use licenses. So if you have a provisioning center and you open a retail operation, just know that you do not need to partition those facilities. It is not required. You have to make sure that the inventory still stays separate, your sales stay separate. You can't bundle, sales, things like that, but there's no partitioning. So you're probably wondering, what is an approvable manner of separation? What is this partitioning? So that would be a floor to ceiling wall with no openings is the easiest, simplest way to make a partition. You can also do floor to ceiling wall with a series of doors arranged and controlled to ensure no direct access between spaces on either side of the wall. Sometimes we call this a man trap. Each scenario is different. So, if you are considering opening a co-located facility and if you're concerned about proper separation, you can email a copy of the floor plan to the enforcement section for review. So that would be the email that you've seen already in the slides, and it'll also be at the end of this presentation. So just a reminder that we cannot officially approve a plan without performing an inspection on site, but we absolutely can provide guidance to ensure that what you're building will be compliant with the rules. 420.22 is on designated consumption establishments. So that is a commercial space that is licensed by the MRA and authorized to permit adults 21 years of age and older to consume marijuana products at the location indicated on the state license issued by the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, also known as MRTMA. For a licensed designated consumption establishment, our rules do not necessarily prohibit food consumption or serving in the licensed DCC space. The licensee would have to receive authorization from the applicable municipal and state regulators of food. And I also want to let you know, if you are considering serving alcohol as a designated consumption establishment, it is advised that you first contact the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. This next slide deals with Rule 420.209, and that is mostly security and surveillance. All applicants need to submit a security plan that demonstrates the ability to meet the requirements of this rule. You'll see it on our inspections as well. This rule does cover the bulk of our inspections, and we have highlighted some areas that it deals with. Just so you know, you will need to print a color photo. You'll need to keep your surveillance recordings for a minimum of 30 days. That's the required retention. And then we've also got surveillance and security system and coverage. So required coverage are any areas where marijuana products are weighed, packed, stored, loaded, unloaded, prepared, or moved within your facility. Entrances, exits to the building, anywhere products are sold or displayed for sale, and anywhere that products are destroyed. And this again is marijuana products. All security and surveillance components must be installed and operating at the time of inspection. And also on here we have surveillance log. This is a required log that would identify any employee that might be monitoring the system that may remove a recording device, and we would need to know a time and date on that log. Metric. Metric is the program for the statewide monitoring system. All licensed establishments are required to work with Metric, with the exception of designated consumption establishments. As noted in the slide, you can take the new business training through Metric once your application has passed its step 1. Please make note of the email address here for Metric. It is something that you will be using, all the time once you're licensed. They are your go-to for any kind of support when it comes to entering product, especially if you're grow, you're going to be ordering tags. They're going to be your first stop. Metric related questions should always go to Metric at support@metric.com, and then to the MRA-compliance@michigan.gov email. So it has the Metric website. That's where you can take your class. And then any questions would go to support@metric.com. And then any follow-up, if Metric tells you that you need state approval before you're able to move forward, absolutely make sure that you contact us at the compliance email. Marketing and advertising restrictions. A marijuana product may only be advertised or marketed in a way that complies with all municipal ordinances, state laws, and the rules that regulate science in advertising. No advertising that is deceptive, false, or misleading. In Rule 420.507, continues that marijuana product must not be advertised or marketed to members of the public unless the person advertising the product has reliable evidence that no more than 30% of the audience or readership for the television program, radio program, internet website, or print publication is reasonably expected to be under the age listed in Rule 7 and 8. So on this slide here, we have Rule 7. A marijuana product under Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act must not be marketed or advertised to minors age 17 or younger. Sponsorships targeting individuals age 17 years or younger. And on the next slide is a marijuana product under MRA must be marketed or advertised as marijuana for use only by individuals 21 years of age or older. If you have specific questions on advertising, you can always email those to the enforcement section for review. Trade and internal samples. So Rule 420.508 is in regard to a cultivator or a producer may provide samples of marijuana products to a producer or a marijuana sales location. A secure transporter may not be required, and within the rules, it gives you guidelines so that you know what amounts you're able to provide those trade samples, that you would not need to use a secure transporter. Rule 420.509 is in regard to a cultivator, producer, marijuana sales location, or marijuana micro business may provide internal product samples, and this would be samples that are directly to its employees. And just as a reminder, they may not be transferred or sold to another licensee or consumer. MMFLA compliance, and this is in regard to grower licenses. A grower shall comply with all the following. So until the end of the year, December 31st, 2021, have as an active employee an individual who has a minimum of 2 years experience as a registered primary caregiver. While holding a license as a grower, not be a registered primary giver and not caregiver, and not employ an individual who is simultaneously a registered primary caregiver. Just as a reminder, this only applies for medical marijuana growth, adult use growth. The licensee or the employees with the previous caregiver experience to fill out an authorization that's allowing the MRA to obtain caregiver status information from the Michigan Medical Marijuana Program Division. All right, I'm going to pass on this next slide to Steve Rao.
Thank you, Melanie. Good job there. So like I said in my intro, I'm a reg agent. Currently, I'm assigned to the west side of the state where I cover 14 counties. Myself and the other reg agents use our investigative experience to help the licensees operate compliantly and to help thoroughly investigate reports of possible rule violations. But primarily, we're here to help you have a successful operation. And one of the biggest things that we see coming in and being reported is in the area of criminal activity notification, which is Section 420.804, which talks about the notification of diversion, theft, loss, or criminal activity pertaining to marijuana products. That's things like employee theft, retail fraud, could be a fire at a grow facility or a vandalism, things like that. They need to be notified to us and local law enforcement within 24 hours of becoming aware of. And the reporting is made very easy for you. You can reach out to us at MRA enforcement@michigan.gov or at the phone number there. I would prefer an email, provide all the information that you can in regards to the incident and a contact information so that we can get back to you, and also make sure that you reach out to your local law enforcement and make them aware of the situation too. Next slide, please. The other thing that we see a lot of is criminal activity nearby. And this is things that are handled by law enforcement. These are complaints related to non-licensed marijuana operators, the so-called black market, or a non-licensed facility, or a non-licensed delivery service. We don't have jurisdiction over that, and we ask that you contact your local law enforcement or the Michigan State Police at the numbers provided below. In closing, for me, I like to tell you what I tell all the facilities that I see, that if you have an issue, please reach out to one of the reg agents and let us know, and we will work with you before it becomes a problem. Thank you.
Ready, thank you. All right, so this is our last slide here. We're going to take questions here, but again, like we talked about earlier, MRA-enforcement@michigan.gov. You can always send us an email or give us a call at 517-284-8599. We stand by ready to help you with your concerns, questions, or comments. Looking to inform everybody that has questions, concerns, or comments, and assist anybody that has any questions, concerns, or comments. So speaking of questions, we've already received some for this presentation. So we'll start off with the first question here. And it is as follows. I'll go ahead and read it off for everybody. So what level of build out is required to meet the MRA's requirements at the time of inspection? And this is pertaining pre-licensure inspections. How to interpret the checklists online, which is what Melanie covered earlier. And what is the process if there are items not met during the inspection? For the build out, we're looking for the pre-licensure checklist items that are available at our website, right where Melanie Carroll showed you, right underneath the technical bulletins. If you go to our technical bulletins or our bulletins page, you'll see the 3 spreadsheets that show our checklist items. And when you open up those checklist items, you'll see there's a pre-licensure, a 30-day post-licensure inspection, and a semi-annual inspection. And in each one of those spreadsheets, you'll see different tabs for each type of facility and license type. So there would be an adult use retailer, and you also see a medical provisioning center. Go ahead and click on those tabs when you find those on our website, and they'll show you exactly what we're looking for. Those are the exact same sections that we take out of statute and out of our rules. And those are the requirements that are needed to pass those inspections at that point in time. So you go to the appropriate business type in the spreadsheet tabs, you find those minimum requirements that we're looking for. And the checklists represent the exact, again, like I said, the citations we're looking for to ensure compliance. If there are non-compliant items found in the inspections, we'll issue a deficiency report and advise the applicant or licensee for semi-annual inspection to contact us once the deficiency is resolved, and we'll either re-inspect or issue a passing report depending on the circumstances. What is the MRA's process for completing an adult use establishment inspections for approval at an already established medical provisioning center facility? Great question. And the answer is it's very similar to the medical inspection. We'll make contact once the inspection is requested from the MRA licensing division, and we'll establish an inspection date and time with the applicant. We'll use the same items in the pre-licensure inspection checklist I talked about earlier for the appropriate business type. So thank you for those questions. Okay, I think the top question that we're getting right now is, are you going to make this presentation available? Well, we are recording this for that possibility. I would say stay tuned for future information. We may post it on our website. We may put out extra information in the future. This is our first presentation for the enforcement division, so we're recording this. And then we'll get back with you if we're able to share that information. And if you have further questions that we didn't get back to you in a certain amount of time regarding whether we're going to share this presentation, feel free to shoot us an email at MRA-enforcement@michigan.gov. Great question here. For a waste management plan, do you work with other state agencies, EGLE or EGLE, to make sure any waste disposal is in compliance? We do. We are in constant communication with other state departments, whether it be EGLE, MDARD, anything that's particular rules that cross into another regulatory program. We are in communication with other state agencies. It's that part of that interagency cooperation. For a specific request, If we have not handled it before and know the answer already off the top of the rules and how we've already communicated with Eagle, we'll reach out to Eagle, or a licensee can always reach out to Eagle. And we can have that discussion about the certain circumstance. There are always different nuances when it comes to waste, and always different things that people ask that if they can do, and we communicate with EGOE and internally to give the answer to the customer. Okay. Also, it would be nice if on the main MRA page, there was a link to all the rules and bulletins. Thank you for that comment. We appreciate that feedback. When you refer to reporting criminal activity for an applicant, is that a licensee applicant or a job applicant? And I know the answer, but Steve, did you want to jump in on that as well? Or I can go ahead and take it.
No, I was just double checking on that, but in reference to what I was speaking of, I was talking about the facility or the licensee, the mandatory reporting of criminal activity. There are certain things in the rules that do speak to certain disqualifiers for employees, but what I was making reference to was the actual facilities.
Thanks, Steve. Yep, and to go on with that as well, we require licensees to report criminal activity as well as applicants. 420.14 and 420.804, I believe. So in this circumstances, yeah, we're talking about the licensee themselves, or the applicant for a license themselves. Just taking time reading here.
Hey, Brian, while you're
Sure.
looking through, I just saw one that I can answer for you while you're.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you very much.
You betcha. It was asked here, is the metric new business webinar required for all of our employees or just the applicants? So it's whoever you're going to have work in metric. If you can make that status there your manager. All employees need to be in metric. That's just something you look for. They all have to be in the system. But as far as taking the new business webinar, it's really geared to whoever is going to be working metric. I hate to say just the applicants are managers of your business. So just, not all employees have to take the class, but they all need to be in metric.
Thanks, Melanie. I'm going to share my screen for this next question. And this next question is, just moved on me. There it is. I'm searching for the checklist, but still cannot find them on the website. Can you please have Melanie review again? Melanie, I got you on this one, but stand by for the presentation here for the next question follow-up. Let's share my screen with everybody here. Okay. So sharing now. Okay, so if you go to our website, michigan.gov/MRA, if you scroll down to laws, rules, grants, and other bulletins, click on this object here. After you've clicked on that, you'll see all the different information that we have here. We have the different programs, we have the rules, and then see this bulletins page? Here's our bulletins page right in the middle of that. And we click on the bulletins page, go to the technical bulletins tab, and you'll see the 3 inspection checklists right here. And you go ahead and just click on any of these things, and they will open up the spreadsheet versions of our checklists. Great question, thank you. So I'm going to stop sharing real quick, and then the other question, Melanie, is, can you please repeat the change form email address? Melanie, do you mind opening up the presentation again and going to slide 13, please.
Hang on, Brian.
No worries. It's trying to
Let
do
me open it.
the
I'm just trying to get to the right page here.
yeah, I appreciate it. It's trying to do the
You
audio and
betcha.
visual at the same time, but if it won't work, I could just read it off. It's not a
No,
problem.
there we go. Can you
Okay.
see it?
We're getting there. No worries. I'll just read it off. I
Are you
appreciate
able to see it? No.
No, that's okay. I'll read it off. Not a problem at all. Again, this web or email address, excuse me, this new information will be released next week. It's coming out very soon. And the email address is, again, MRA-amendments@michigan.gov. One M in the beginning of amendments. It is MRA-AMENDMENTS@michigan.gov. MRA-amendments@michigan.gov. Again, brand new email address. More information is coming about that very soon. If you send a reporting form already to MRA-adult use licensing at michigan.gov, you do not need to resend the form. Thank you very much. Okay. Hey, thank you for some of these comments. Really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. Okay. Here's another question. I recall a rule that we had to check employees against the no-go list. Yes, it's an exclusion list, which is required in our rules. I have called MRA and they said this list is not ready yet at this time. Is there a list yet to check against? Great question. No, we still do not have an exclusion list available at this time. Okay, here's an interesting question. It is, what arms are required for security guards in-house? And what is not acceptable in terms of weapons and behavior? So we regulate the licensed facilities. We do not regulate firearms, weapons. That is not going to be us. So when it comes to firearms and weapons, we encourage everybody to contact the Detroit ATF in Detroit, Michigan. If you go to Google and type in Detroit ATF, they have a public number and public email address. Please contact the ATF regarding questions regarding weapons at or on facility grounds. We do not have rules or requirements for security guards to contain any weapons or possess any weapons. Again, any weapons, questions, comments, we refer those to ATF Detroit. Thank you. Is there anybody, Melanie or anyone else that want to answer another question? No worries, because I can keep going.
Brian, I was just going to point out, someone had asked where they can find the report change form that you referenced in those, and I don't believe that is on the slide.
Okay. Good question. I know it's on our website.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, if you want me to start clicking buttons right now,
Okay.
I'm not going to find it right away.
Okay, I'll say I can, yeah, I can.
But if you can, feel free.
Okay.
So stop
And
sharing.
there was another one about a template for the adult use responsible operation plan. So I just wanted to speak up on that. And there is
Sure.
no set template, but everything that is in that rule that I talked about in 420.602, it describes exactly what needs to be in the plan. So if something in there isn't applicable to your facility, you can simply state, that due to being a grow and that you wouldn't, serve anyone at a grow, you can just, state that. It's a plan that needs to be submitted and it has to cover the information, but there is no set template.
Thanks, Melanie. There are a lot of questions going through here. So thank you for bearing with us here. And also, this is my first time doing this on Zoom. It's an interesting thing. Do the advertising restrictions apply to CBD products? Okay, so we regulate the marijuana industry. Our rules are for the marijuana businesses. When it comes to CBD, you're going to have to talk to the regulators of the CBD products. And right now that would be MDARD. Great question. Will the MRA in the state of Michigan be approving drive-through services for online ordering? And how does this differ from the curbside services that are currently allowed? Great question. We're always taking feedback for new rule sets. Even though we put out a rule set, and there's been several rule sets that we've had out since the 4 years of which I've been with the MRA, we're always taking in feedback and comments and questions when it comes to new rules. We really do take that information, we do analyze it, and we do move those for future rule set considerations. There will be another rule set. I can't tell you when that's going to be, but there will be public comment for those. And that's a great question. And we really appreciate that question. And that's one that I'm just going to snag. And just like I said, we take a hold of those and put those to the side. There's going to be some of those things that we can keep in mind when we're looking at the new rule sets. So thank you for that question.
Okay, Brian, bear with me. I'm
Sure.
going to try and share my screen so we can find that form.
All right. May the force be with you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. So can you see the website, michigan.gov?
I can.
/MRA. Okay. So if you go under adult use establishments, and then you'll see here where it shows paper application forms and resources. So I'm under MRA. I went to adult use establishments, and now I'm in paper application forms and resources. And then at the bottom here, you will see miscellaneous forms. And then if you go right in the middle, we have our reporting form. And then this is the form that Brian was referring to in a couple of his slides that he explained what you would need to report on these and what you should not report on these and where to send them. This is the actual form and where you can find it.
Thanks, Melanie. And we really appreciate the industry advises of changes before they can make those. And again, we listed out what are the things that we're going to need to require in rules. I'm glad you have a new toaster. That's great. We don't need to inspect the new toaster, but we really appreciate the information. And we'll have new information coming out pretty soon with, again, that form with the change of email address as well. Here's a good question. Doesn't adding adverse reactions to the MRA change reporting form add additional complications to businesses, since these forms must be signed by license holder individuals within 24 hours, rather than just allowing compliance departments to streamline the process? Great feedback. We can take that information and report changing form. You can also email us at MRA-enforcement@michigan.gov to let us know about the adverse reaction. We get emails all the time about this. We take the information. If we have any questions, we get back with you. We understand the question. I think it's a good question. It's just another way to add in the information. But we're not looking to kick back adverse reactions if they're not on the change reporting form. We get those on phone calls and emails on a regular basis. So feel free to use MRA-enforcement@michigan.gov if you feel that that would be more streamlined for your business. Okay, Melanie, if you don't mind, help me out with this. Now, we're going to handle this from the enforcement perspective. Now, there are some licensing implications here that I recommend that what we can't answer now, just send us an email to MRA-enforcement@michigan.gov and we'll refer you to the licensing division. Or if you're already working with a licensing analyst, feel free to send it over to licensing. But the question is as follows: what would the process be to move a processing license to another building on the same property location? So Melanie, kind of with this question, but do you mind talking about how we use the report changing forms and how we inspect changes to facilities and how that works on the enforcement side, please?
Sure. So yeah, anytime you have, and I'm assuming this is a current processor. So anytime you have a floor plan change, if you're expanding your operation, and then I guess in this case, you would be moving, maybe it's to a different suite or another location in the building. And like Brian said, that may be, you know, a little more of a licensing issue, especially if the address should change when you make that move. But all of that information would need to, if your license is not going to change, then all that, the floor plan change would be initiated to us through a report change form. As far as, you know, product, that would go through our MRA hyphen compliance. I know they receive the emails on that if you're going to be transferring product from one license to another. The actual, you know, inspection or looking at, you know, the other location that you're going to be moving to would be through us, and we can do that through the report change form.
Thanks, Melanie. Much appreciated. Again, for the parts that we couldn't answer or any of the questions that we couldn't get to, we got several. Feel free to send us an email to mra-enforcement@michigan.gov. And pardon me while I'm still clicking buttons in this Zoom presentation here. Okay.
And while you're looking to Brian, I just
Sure.
saw a question. 420.506 states that patients may not exceed the 2.5 ounce, you know, purchase, and that would be for medical patients. Is the limit the same for adult use? Are there any monthly or 30-day restrictions on purchase? The answer to that is no. With adult use, there are transaction limits, but you do not have the daily limits that they are required in the medical side.
Thanks, Melanie. Here's a great question. The screen moves. There we go. Is the reporting form only for adult use? No, it's not. And that's why there's going to be a clarification in part with the email address. No, we use the report change forms for any proposed changes to a marijuana business or any of those other items that we listed in the PowerPoint for whether it be medical or adult use facilities. So those report forms help us out with both. And the reason why we use the centralized email address is that helps us gather that information and go through different steps with different departments within the MRA to log that information in a record management system and make sure that you have customer service and attention to the issue of what you're asking or providing us. That we were able to track that in certain individuals that pass that information along to where it needs to go. Because it doesn't just go to one person, you know, that actually starts off in licensing and then it will go to enforcement. From where there we'll supply that information to perhaps Bureau of Fire Services and our field staff. There are several different people looking at each one individual reporting form, including managers. It's a large process. So we appreciate everybody sending those to the centralized email address. Again, you can start using MRA-amendments@michigan.gov. If you already sent it to MRA-adult use licensing at Michigan.gov, no worries, you're all set.
Brian, we have one here that I think I might be able to jump on.
All right.
Help you out.
Thank you.
The question states, do you have any examples of employee training manuals, or are these proprietary to the operators? We do not provide examples of employee training manuals. Basically, you can work with your regulation officer. They can give you some helpful hints as to what you can put in standard operating procedures, things of that nature, but we do not provide manuals.
Thanks, Joe. Much appreciated.
I have another one here, Brian, as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can answer for you. Can we have clarification on internal and trade samples? And I know I had the slide that listed the rules and what's required. I'm not sure if this will help, but I'm just going to read off the definition just to kind of give you an idea of what the difference is. So an internal product sample is a sample of products possessed by a cultivator, producer, or sales location that is provided directly to an employee for the purpose of ensuring product quality and making determinations about whether to sell the marijuana product. And then in regard to trade sample, that is a sample of marijuana product. Oh, I'm sorry, there we are. Here I am. That is a sample of marijuana product provided to licensees by a cultivator or producer for the purpose of determining whether to purchase the marijuana product. So I know the slides reference 420.508 and 420.509. And just to let you know, all of these, no matter whether you're doing internal or trade, they're all going to go through metric. So please don't have any confusion if you have, a cultivator processor show up at your provisioning center and they just want to give you some samples. Just know that everything should be going through metric, but there's certain circumstances regarding the amount of product that they're bringing to you, whether or not they would need to use a secure transporter. And that is what is more clearly defined in the 2 rules. So hopefully that helps.
Thanks, Melanie. Okay, let's do a couple more. Again, do you keep a record of people who are blacklisted from working in a marijuana establishment? It is referred to in the rules as a requirement of that it is checked before hiring somebody, but at this time we do not have a list that is publicly available or available at all. There is no list at this time, and when there is, we'll make that publicly available and know to everybody.
I see a question here. For a Class C grow facility, is the limit of 1,500 plants per room in the same facility or 1,500 plant total in the facility? So if you have one single Class C grow license, it's 1,500 plants that you can have. It doesn't mean they can only be in one room. It's just for that license, you can only have 1,500.
Thanks, Melanie. And do you mind talking about Class C's stacked when it comes to partitioning? The non-requirement for partitioning for Class C stacks. We may have lost Melanie. That's okay. We've had some bad weather going around lately. So when we talk about partitioning earlier through different various slides, no, we do not require partitioning between commonly owned Class C grows that are stacked that are with the same ownership. We understand that some of those, a lot of Class Cs are they could be either large or small in either, excuse me here. And then also just a reminder for everybody, the remediation of fresh frozen request forms are in the approval process for non-traditional transfers technical bulletin. And we thank Melanie for joining us. I just got, while I'm talking to you, I just got notification that her power just went out. And like I said, with the storms happening across Michigan, that seems to be a common occurrence there. So hopefully we can get her back online, but we definitely thank you for being part of this presentation and her as well. Is there any discussion on increasing the total number of plants under a micro business license? Again, thank you for that comment. Again, we're always taking in comments and considerations for future rule sets or any potential legislature or statutory changes, but we appreciate that feedback. I don't have an answer on that, but we do appreciate that that is something that you're curious about. And if we do have any information come out, please stay tuned or send an email to MRA-enforcement@michigan.gov. My favorite question, how often will these webinars be done? And they are very helpful. Thank you. Well, thank you for attending. We really appreciate it. And this is part of our core responsibilities to reach out in customer service and offer compliance to the industry. We're going to have another one of these. The date and time is to be determined, but we plan on doing another one either at the end of the summer or beginning of fall this year from the enforcement division. And what we're intending to do is update our presentation based off some of the feedback, questions, comments, concerns that we receive regarding either this presentation or things that are happening with current events. With that, I want to say thank you very much for joining our presentation. On behalf of my organization, Joe Thomas, Steve Rao, Melanie Carroll, who just had the power outage. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Apologize we couldn't get to all of your questions today for the presentation, but feel free to send us an email at mra-enforcement@michigan.gov. We will get back with you as soon as we possibly can. And we look forward to seeing you back in the field. We're so fortunate to make it through this pandemic and get to the point that where we are, that we're back in the field, and we look forward to seeing everyone's happy, smiley faces out there in the businesses. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. Questions, comments, concerns, feel free to shoot us an email or phone call. Thank you.